everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're on part 4 out of chapter Fire Protection Systems, and this is the last video of this particular section. So just to kind of make sure that you understand or you see what's going on, you will end up noticing it. Excuse me. In here, we're going to be talking about standpipes and fire hoses. One of the things we need to talk about is kind of the installation. Standpipes and fire hoses are typically installed during the construction phase of a building, so I want you to understand that. There are manual fixed fire systems, and so they have to be incorporated in the walls and the foundation to be able to be utilized. Some are easily recognized by, if you look at the bottom left picture, that you can see glass enclosed cabinets, and of course for fire hoses, and you might see those in buildings. Now you see this when there's buildings of 4 stories or above. Normally you don't see it when there are lower than 4 stories. Others may have large diameter pipes that extend vertically through a building, like you see up at the top. There's a red one and a green one. You might see like the silver one on the top right, that connections for fire hose hookups. If you go to a Walmart, you might see it outside the building, or a Target, or some of the stores that you might see it says standpipe. And it gives, of course, the address so that people will know, or the fire department will know exactly where those are. I put several different types of websites for you to go to. Take the time to go there, upload the PowerPoint, and then you can click on it and be able to see those. But technically, interior designers are not going to be handling the layout, but you need to know or be aware of the locations and working concurrently with the engineer who specializes, or with the company's engineer, to be able to understand the layout, because sometimes that can dictate what you can do with the wall, or what you can put on that wall, where things are going to be in the walls to be able to utilize as an interior designer. The other websites that I said put in here are publications with great information on standpipe systems and design and installation requirements. Very educational, and you need to have an understanding of how this works. Okay, as you know, there's 3 classes of standpipes based on the purpose and the intent of the system. There's great information in your textbook in page 292. There's a class 1, class 2, and class 3. And you need to kind of know the difference between the 3. So some of the types of standpipes are a wet system, a dry system, which are automatic, or a manual wet system, or a manual dry system, or a semi-automatic dry system. And so those are the different ones, and when you look at the different videos or the different websites that I've given you, they're going to give you some examples of those. And it depends on what your hazardous material is within your building, depends on what type of system that you have. If you have all types of computers, a lot of times you're not going to use a wet system because it would automatically destroy. You may end up using a dry system. So refer to page 299 in your text of sprinkler heads. You're going to see some examples, but I'm going to show you some of those that are here in there. Also look at Viking Corp. It's a wonderful company that does installation of sprinkler systems. And, you know, you'll notice all throughout in all the things that I've been saying, there's lots of trade-offs. If you have a sprinkler system, you can have a longer dead-end corridor. If you have a sprinkler system, you can have a bigger building. So we know there's a lot of trade-offs in having a sprinkler system. And a lot of times if I'm working with somebody, I highly encourage them to put a sprinkler system in. Okay, so let's talk about different types of sprinkler heads. I've got some here for you to be able to look at, because you're going to see what is referred to as a pendant. This is like a pendant. so that you could be able to see it. It hangs like this, which if this is the roof, it would hang down in there, and it's screwed into the pipe that's running through. And you're going to see what dictates it is this little red item here. If heat comes through, enough sufficient heat, it's going to break this glass piece, and then you will see water will disperse down, and because of this flange that is here, you see the flange, water will disperse out. Okay? There are different types that you see. Sometimes this particular one that you might see might end up utilizing or seeing in a wall. It may be recessed. So here's our ceiling. We have our ceiling part that's going here, and it's recessed up. That means the ceiling is raised, and here is the gadget itself, the sprinkler head with the flange. Okay? So what happens then, water, of course, with the flange usually is level with this, will disperse out. Okay? So do you see the water spurting out and going all different directions? There's also one that you see that might be a sidewall. And so that looks like this. Okay? And so it's screwed in. You might have, because sometimes in a hotel they lower, of course, the ceiling in the bathrooms, and so their sprinkler system is not going all the way into the bedrooms, but it's going to go over in the headroom or in the ceiling of the bathrooms. And so you see it, of course, right here, and it's screwed into the pipe. Here is our indicator. So it's on the wall right here. Okay, this is where the wall is, and all this is protruding out. A lot of times you'll see a sign that says, do not hang clothing on the sprinkler heads, because they don't want this to break and water to disperse out. But you'll notice it has this particular piece on the top. That's so that the water just didn't go to the ceiling. They're trying to disperse it downward, okay, downward to be able to get into the room to make sure, because most fires will not starting at the ceiling, they're starting at the ground level. So you may end up having, of course, some that have different colors. You can see here there's a flange, and so it screws into it. And so it doesn't look as conspicuous because most ceilings are white. So you can get a variety of colors, but very limited. They're usually white or silver. And I've seen a couple of companies that have a tan color. Or there might be something that is recessed. This is a recessed, okay? All of the innards that you see are kind of, all of this is inside, okay? And so what happens if this gets so much heat, you see this is where the ceiling is, and so if this gets so much heat, then it lowers and water disperses out all around, getting the water where it needs to be. Okay? But that is more of your concealed. So this looks a little bit nicer, and you don't really notice it in the ceiling as you would something like this hanging down. So it makes a big difference. So sometimes designers specify this because they do not want it to be shown. Okay, so if you really want to know and learn more, which I want you to open the back of your IBC code book and look in the index, and look at sprinkler system required. And it will give you all of the locations where the sprinkler systems are required. There's quite a few there, and you need to look at it. Also, look at reference sprinkler systems, and it talks about automatic. And also in the index, it talks about exempt locations. And then if you look at substitute for fire ratings, like table 601 4.4. And then there are sprinklers or devices, remember, that allow trade-offs in design. So when we say trade-offs, we're trying to make sure that we nip, if you might say nip, the fire into extinction right off the bat. So be able to share these examples. And look at the NFPA 13. That is the standard for installation of sprinkler systems, and you see it referenced throughout.